Welcome to One Life, the podcast where we embrace the journey of living fully and intentionally in every area of life. My name is Matt Farnham, and while I don't have it all figured out, I'm walking this journey with you, convinced we don't have to choose between a thriving career and thriving relationships, health, and purpose. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And together we'll explore how to create work-life harmony, reject the lies of comparison, steward our gifts, and embrace the life God desires for all of us. Welcome to One Life. All right. Well, welcome back to the One Life podcast. Thank you again for listening and being a part of our One Life community. Super excited to introduce a good friend of mine to you. His name is Danny Bae. Danny and I go way back, and just want to give you a little background on him. What I love about Danny, and I think really the real reason we've stayed in touch, is just a loving husband, a great father of 3 kids. We'll talk about that. Incredible business leader, public speaker, but probably the foundational thing that connects us is his love for the Lord. We both are very passionate about our relationship with Jesus and letting that just flesh out through our marriages and our families and our business. But more formally, he's the president of sales for Reimani. Reiman's a luxury skincare company that started in Korea. And man, he's taken this thing global. We're going to talk about that for a moment as well. But I'll just kind of cut it right there and just say, Danny, thanks for being on the show, bro.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be part of the One Life podcast, and I've been watching a lot of your content. It's truly inspiring, and you're definitely making a big impact for all of us. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for your friendship.
Man, thanks, Danny. And I know you are going to encourage and inspire those that hang on with us for a few minutes here. So just kind of give a background for you guys listening. So Danny and I actually met probably 22, 23 years ago. And many of you guys don't know this about my story, but before I got into real estate, I actually did network marketing or multi-level marketing full time for a minute, maybe a handful of months or a year or so. But Danny, you were our mentor. Actually, the backstory, just so the listeners know, Leslie and I, we say we met at church or different ways. The truth is, we met in network marketing. She recruited her brother, who got my roommate in. They both flaked out. And then she was my direct upline. That's how Leslie and I met. Now, 21 years later, praise the Lord, we're married. But Danny, you're a huge part of our story, bro. So those were some good days back then.
Absolutely. It's meeting you and Leslie back in 2003 and getting a chance to, build our friendship, but watching you guys build incredible relationship and build family, and what you guys have done, in the Lord and church life as well as professional life, and what you've been able to do in the real estate space, and helping people to, change their lives for better, using all the teachings and all the things that you have learned from church and in the different avenues. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, thanks, man. And you, honestly, Danny, you've had influence over us that there really is a ripple effect. Like, I'll catch myself still thinking things or saying things that we learned that many years ago. Just the personal development that comes in the MLM space or the direct sales or network marketing space. My gosh, it is so transferable to real estate, to any type of entrepreneurship or business. We're going to talk about that too. But one more thing I want to mention, because so many of my friends are following are familiar with a thing called Rooted that I started a few years ago. And guys, just so you know the story, Danny is the reason Rooted exists. And I don't even know if Danny fully understands that yet. But when we were doing network marketing years ago, there was a company called ACM we were working with for years. But Danny, again, faith fleshed out through his business. He started doing these worship gatherings to kick off these big conferences. And that's always stuck with me, Danny, to the extent that, like, man, I remember you and I had lunch a few years ago. I'm like, dude, I want to do this in the real estate space. And then God put it on my heart. Now, 3 years ago, we've done 6 big conferences. I started Rooted. Let's get our minds and hearts rooted in Christ before we kick off these crazy conferences. And some of us leave more stressed out after the conference than before we got there, right? And bro, God has done an amazing work over the last few years. Lives have been changed. People have been challenged. It's continuing to grow. And bro, that wouldn't happen. You gave me the vision, dude. So just want to honor you and say thank you for that.
Thank you for doing what you do. And, I think all the professional work that we do in different platforms and within different communities, and being able to connect and meet so many people, and using our influence and using our impact opportunity to, share gospel, with many new people and many working people, professional people in the space. I think it's incredible. What we've seen For 15 years that, myself and my senior pastor locally from here in Las Vegas from our church have seen is many people, yes, find the Lord through those opportunities, but we've also seen thousands of people where they used to know the Lord and they got nudged away and they got disconnected, and they found those business setting environment, but yet there was an opportunity, for them to reconnect with the Lord, and using that business conference as a bridge for them to refine their relationship and love with the Lord. It's been incredible, and yeah, that was a huge part of our ministry as well as our business for 15 plus years, and it was a blessing.
Yeah. And we're going to lean into that a little bit more, the faith and business component here in a few minutes. But one question, Danny, I love to ask everybody that comes on the show. So, Yoon Jung, your wife, you guys are coming up on 20 years of marriage. You got 3 kids. I know you're a very proud dad, Alexis, Danny Jr., and Caitlin. But one thing, you travel a lot, man. I know that. But you're in Vegas right now. You call Vegas home. But in the midst of everything you got going on, what's bringing you joy right now? Like, what's bringing you the most joy currently?
Well, all 3 of my kids are in high school now, so, seeing them becoming young adults and, planning their calling and their purpose and them finding and searching, their purpose and calling in life. That's exciting. And I think, yes, we got to input and did our best to spend a lot of time, as much time as possible with their kids when they're young. But I think this is the most important time, and it's definitely bringing a lot of joy as seeing them transition into young adults. And I, and there are a lot of other things, God's been so good, for so many years, giving me opportunity to go through different things. So there's a lot happening. We're grateful for, we're finding joy in, but definitely the 3 kids in high school becoming young adults.
Those
That brings me a smile every day.
those arrows in the quiver are getting a little bit closer to releasing, huh?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, because I started my professional career when I'm just turning 18, so I to think that my daughter is at that age, right? And my son is going to be at that age where I chose this career path 25 years ago. In just a year or a year and a half from now, it's pretty crazy to think about, but it's exciting.
Hey, brother, they got some big shoes to fill here in the next 2 years to step into Danny's version of 18 years old, man. I remember 18, bro. You already had thousands of people following you at 18, 19 years old. That was pretty impressive. So, hey, let's get rolling here. First of all, just real quick, tell us about the company you're working for now. Like, just if anybody's curious and they want to learn more, what's Reimani all about, and how'd you get connected with them?
Reimani is a Korean skincare company from South Korea. K Beauty Korean skincare has been very popular, trending, growing everywhere, and they became the fastest growing, and they became #1 K Beauty brand in Korea within first 3 years. But due to global pandemic, they were only operating in Korea, and they reached out to me 3.5 years ago, and it was God appointed time. It was absolutely perfect time. I was in crossroad in my career path, and God opened up doors, and we literally within weeks of meeting complete strangers, we got to partner up, and I took on the project of helping them expand outside of Korea. So I've been with them for 3.5 years now, and we opened up 11 countries, and we have 22 countries that we're planning to launch by at the end of this year. So it's been exciting, it's been fun, and I've been very grateful to be part of it.
Man, I'd expect nothing less out of you, Danny. That's incredible, man. And what's funny is, so we're going to talk about, multi-level marketing for a minute, network marketing, which Danny has truly mastered, guys. If I don't know who else you could ever meet that's done as well in that space. But here's the irony: is fast forward 21 years later, my real estate career, Danny, I think I told you, but now the real estate brokerage I'm aligned with is actually a revenue share company. It's kind of got that MLM component to it, which is kind of full circle for me, right? Because it's like, man, I started this 21 years ago, and here I am again. And I had a friend say this recently, and I want to hear your perspective on this. He said, man, winning, the coolest thing about a rev share model or like an MLM model is winning is fun. But man, winning with your friends, like that's a blast, right? And the way you get to align and be economically incentivized to help other people win, man, you know that better than anybody, right?
Absolutely, the best part about the whole direct sales and building a network that you can market products and services with model, and I think you and I, being local, being entrepreneurs and meeting many successful people in town in different industries, we most successful people that I meet, they run, their industry of traditional businesses after achieving certain level of financial status or achieving, building the company to certain size. Many of them that can't wait to exit, that can't wait to retire, and because a lot of it was they achieved their financial success, but the fulfillment had they have already achieved. But what's different about direct sales and building a network and marketing through the network marketing system is every day you could find that joy and excitement and the fulfillment and the gratitude because it's about helping other people and seeing someone that never done sales, they've never built organizations, they've never had any leadership role before, but in short amount of time, in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year of time, they're starting to achieve a little bit of success, and their direction of their life change, their lifestyle enhances, and it is the greatest thing to witness, and you're proud. They're not your, so many times they're either your similar age or even older, but they're like your children, achieving different excitement in their life. And some people didn't have exciting, they've been on the same path for 20 years and they haven't been excited about anything else for many years, and they're finding joy in life again. And it's like, the switch went on in them for them to be excited about their future again. So being able to be part of someone's success story, even if it's just 1% or just a little bit, it really is fulfilling, and it's exciting.
Man, you exemplify as well as anybody I know the famous Zig Ziglar quote we all love, right? You help enough people get what they want, you don't have to worry about what you want, right? And you've done that for so many years, Danny. So, man, that's awesome, dude. Hats off to you on there. Question about MLM or direct sales. From my perspective, man, it's so transferable to any business. Some of the philosophies, even like listening to Jim Rohn back in the day, right? And I literally just listened to Jim Rohn's book in the last 6 months again. Like I still come back to it because the philosophies, the principles, they are so applicable to everything in business. But after doing this for so long, how have you seen specifically some of the principles that you've learned in network marketing being so transferable to other industries?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things that, because network marketing, I believe, before any products or industries that you may be participating, I believe network marketing is people's business. And only way you could be successful in people's business is for you to, number one, understand people, but more importantly, become a good person. So because of it, there's a huge portion of training programs in long lasting network marketing systems and cultures and companies is personal development. And I think many industries, they teach skills, they teach knowledge, they teach professionalism, but they don't invest as much time in personal development. And thankfully for you and myself, we got to grow up in the environment of really understanding the importance of personal development. Jim Rohn's audio tapes and Jim Rohn's materials I still study, and it's been 25 years, and it's almost like the Bible. It's like it speaks to me differently, based on what's going on in my life, right?
Right.
It's the
Totally.
same audio tape that I've listened to 20 years ago, but I get completely different teaching out of it today than I did 20 years ago. And because of it, it impacts, and I have so many friends just like you, after, starting your entrepreneurship and personal development and learning sales and leadership, things like that in the direct sales environment, but you took all of that and pivoted into real estate industry, and you've done extremely well. And I have so many friends that we worked with 10, 15, 20 years ago. We may not be doing business today. We stay connected as friends, and I love seeing them winning. And I was just talking to my wife about it just a few weeks ago, because most people that we worked with and that spent at least several months or a year or plus of time training and growing together back in the days, they've all succeeded, in different industries, and they got to apply. They continued their personal development journey, and they got to apply a lot of the sales skills they have learned from that foundation. So it is applied everywhere, not just because it's a network marketing lessons, most of the trainings in network marketing lessons is people lessons and personal development of us becoming better people and better human being and better leader lessons. And I believe that's the reason why it's applied everywhere.
Yeah, and it's so surprising to me that most industries don't put much emphasis on it, right? But it does so much in that space. And I was just thinking as you're talking, Danny, it'd be so fun one day to have like a Danny Bae influence reunion, 25 years of impact of just all these people coming together and be like, hey, I was with Danny 25 years ago. I was with Danny 20 years ago, 15. If you don't get to see it in this lifetime, I think you're going to get to see it in heaven, brother. So
One day we'll get a lot of friends together and we'll have a great time.
Amen. Yeah. So, a couple questions for you. We talked about Jim Rohn. I'm just curious, like right now, is there somebody that you're really leaning into right now that's really inspiring you or making you level up? There's a lot of podcasters out there right now or authors, or who is it you're really leaning into right now?
I listen and watch a lot of stuff now, but however, I have to say that other content, videos, audios, podcasts, books, I watch or listen, study once or twice, but I always go back still to this day to Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's Challenge to Succeed, which is a 4-hour program. He did live seminar many, many years ago that was recorded and that was published as CDs. That audio program, that's one thing that I probably have listened to over 1,500 times. And, and I still fall back to it every time I want to improve and grow and take things to the next level. I go back to listening to Jim Rohn's Challenge to Succeed.
I do too. I get it, man. It's worth keeping a CD player around long enough just to be able to play those old CDs, man. Question for you about, because I think this is so applicable. A huge portion of the people who follow this podcast or the One Life community are realtors, other entrepreneurs as well. But I think something really similar between the network marketing space and real estate is how quickly people throw in the towel or give up. And quite frankly, I'm an example of that in the network marketing space. I think we maybe were doing it for a year or so, give or take, but I'm not doing it today, right? So 9 out of 10 realtors, Danny, will actually fail out of the business within 24 months of starting, most way sooner than that. From your 25 years of experience, what's the difference? What sets the people apart that are able to stick it out, weather the storm? Because a lot of it's probably just a matter of giving enough time to give it a chance to work, right? So what have you seen maybe those key differences that separate the people who get out and the people that stick it out?
I think there are two parts to it. I think one is on the individual, and the other part is either part of the company or the organization or the leadership system culture that they may have stepped into. And of course, things are much easier, if the company or the system or leadership or culture is providing the right environment for them to continue the journey. And you're absolutely right; it takes time. I love the way many of the leaders put it. They said, if someone wants to lose 10 pounds, or if it took you years to gain it, you're not going to lose it in 3 minutes of time. Starting a new journey and starting new path and starting a new industry and developing new skills and shifting and understanding some of the new mindsets and ideas, it takes time. It's a process. And so, if they could find, especially in real estate, I think it's very similar. Including yourself, I have many friends in real estate. If the organization, the company, the office, the system and the training and the culture and under the leadership is providing events, and opportunities for them to stay connected, and they just got to staying connected. A lot of times, Jim Rohn said it the best. People don't get knocked off course. They usually get nudged off course. It's the discipline is, it's not a discipline, and commitment is not a once a year thing. It's a daily thing. And, so if they could be connected, even if it's short amount of time, if daily they're having input and deposit in the environment, maybe in a group chat, maybe on a Zoom call, or maybe in a podcast, or maybe in live setting of office or, environment where they're getting deposited a positive messaging and energy that is encouraging them to stay the course, I think it's going to help. So that's on the organization. But individually, a lot of people, I think part of it is, real estate as well as, network marketing, the entry is not as difficult, and it's easier to enter in. Maybe few thousand dollars of registration for license, or a few $1,000s of initial products and trainings and different materials that maybe they get. So it's such an easy commitment to get started. And I think it's a easier, it doesn't last as long, right? But I use an example all the time. When my family moved to the United States from Korea back in 1997, my parents opened up dry cleaners, and when they opened up dry cleaners, it was everything they had and more, right? And they didn't have anything else, right? Every dime they had went into opening up dry cleaners, and that's how they're going to provide life for our family. And I use the example, what do you think happened? When they opened up a dry cleaner, they don't speak English. They've never done dry cleaning business, right? They don't know anybody here. They had many rude customers. They had many unfair situations. Someone would drop off an old shirt that looks like that's 50 years old and it's already ruined, and afterwards, and they would show up and say, "Hey, you ruined my shirt," and they want $500 for the shirt that you never even heard the brand of. I mean, unfair, unreasonable customers and happenings all the time. But do you think even for a second, my parents, when they experienced unfair situations like that, they thought, "Hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore"? No, because they put everything in it, and that's how we provided life, for me and my brother and our family. That's how we had the roof over our head. So because the commitment was so big, that it was not even an option, and I think if people could enter into, real estate profession or other industries that allows them to become an entrepreneur, even if the commitment is small, if they could mentally make a bigger commitment, even though maybe they only spend a few thousand, if they can mentally trick themselves saying, "Hey, you know what? I have put everything I have and more. I have put in $1 million into this journey." And that's the type of a commitment that could bring out. I think everybody could stay the course long enough to see certain level of results in whatever industry and whatever profession they're stepping into.
Man, that's so good. Like what I'm hearing you say when you tell your parents' stories, burn the ships, right? I mean, there's no going back. And you're right, the barrier of entry, that's a very hot topic in the real estate space, as a lot of people feel it should be much bigger. But hey, the most valuable asset or commodity we have is our time. And if you're going to allocate a year of your life to something, especially in adulthood, man, we should take it a lot more serious, right? I like that. And as you're talking about the company side of things, if you really look at the groups of realtors crushing it right now, most of them are in some type of community, right? Whether it's a subset of the bigger brokerage, but it's like-minded leaders locking arms, tugging on the same rope, all contributing value in their own way to a community. Because I just thought of John 15, right? It's stay attached to the vine, right? You got to hang on to the vine, be part of something bigger than you. And that makes all the difference in the world. So great input, man. Anything to add on that before I move on?
No, I think I agree 100%.
Yeah, love it, man. So you are a man of faith, family man, right? That's what we have in common. I think probably our primary connection is in that lane. How has faith, Danny, played a role? Specifically, man, I know you're a humble guy, man. You have a lot of humility, but dude, you've been incredibly successful. Maybe one of the more successful friends in my life that I've been around. I'm curious, faith specifically, how has that played a role in your business as you've grown, as you've built companies, organizations, and what has God shown you in aligning that faith? Not either or, it's not faith over here, business over here, but it's one life, man. It's what the show is all about. What's that journey look like for you?
Well, it's everything, because first of all, without it, none of the things that I've been able to experience and be part of for the last 25 years would have ever happened. And I actually don't know how people survive. And I don't know how people continue. And I don't know how people stay positive. I don't know how people stay the course without it. One of my favorite scriptures, Romans 8:28, which I live by, and it literally rings in my head every single day. All things work together for the good, for those who love God according to its purpose. It doesn't say all things are good, but all things work together for the good. And I look back at my career, there were many things at the moment. It seemed like a tragedy and it seemed like crisis. And it seemed like it's the worst thing that could have possibly happened at the moment.
Like the
But
day Matt and Leslie said, "Hey, we're leaving network marketing." I'm kidding.
but every single one of those moments, now looking back at it, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, were the greatest turning points. It is the greatest moments in my life. So it is so true that all things do work together for the good, for those who love God according to the purpose. So you got to stay the course. I also believe that God has allowed us to exercise so many of the promises and principles and laws of how created the world and how the system of the world works, and understanding that, which you can't physically explain, you can't tangibly explain, but it works every single time. And that's what faith, it it's if you really stop and think about it. And a lot of people say, well, how do you have faith when things look bad? But it's just, faith is just believing something positive of something that hasn't happened yet. But I think it takes same amount of effort to believe in fear. Fear is believing in things that are negative, things that you don't want, things that you're scared of. Fear of believing in things that hasn't happened yet, that's negative. So either way, you have to believe in something that hasn't happened yet, faith or fear. And me knowing the Lord, and I believe in the promises of the Lord, it is much easier and much more powerful to live life, having faith with his promises, because I know he wants the best for all of us, and his plans are bigger than our own plans. So it is everything, and without it, I wouldn't be here. And I'm so grateful for every good and every challenge moments and every tragedies that has happened in the last 20 plus years that has brought me to be where I'm at now.
That's so well said, man. And as you're talking, those of you following the One Life community, I've said before, this isn't technically a Christian podcast, if you will. However, I really am not. I'm very bold and clear about what I think this One Life is built on. I don't know how you would do it apart from a relationship with Christ either. I mean, if you're really seeking harmony in life, right? We all want this elusive work-life balance. Balance is a myth, but harmony is possible. But I think it's building on a firm foundation, right? Not shifting sand. And as you're talking, Danny, I got to share this. I know you'll love this verse as well, but we know the Bible says that be anxious for nothing, but in all things, right? But I love that it says be anxious for nothing, because have you ever thought about the fact that oftentimes hindsight, we were anxious for nothing? We were literally anxious for no reason, because the fear that you just mentioned was just a thing made up in our head that wasn't even
Right.
real.
Right.
Ah, I love it,
So
man.
true.
So the idea of harmony, Danny, like, man, you're stewarding your influence. You've built this huge organizations multiple times over. You have a big platform, man, a lot of influence. You travel quite a bit. Speaking of harmony, how do you have the responsibilities you have and the influence that's on the road oftentimes, but still stay connected to Yoon Jung and the kids and just community here at home? What's that look like? How do you manage that?
Well, I think in the beginning it was challenging. As much travel as I do, and time away from home that I had to spend, many years. Well, not years at a time, but days at a time. I think it was challenging at some times, and I think it was the conversation, that we had with my pastor, because my wife was, she will have friends that will talk about, hey, how do you deal with, him not being available for, a few days or a couple of weeks, or traveling all the time. I couldn't do it, and seeing that it's different. And it's something he said that really helped us. And it was already so many years ago that it's been a great thing for us to have that harmony. He said, everybody has their own norm, and we're all called to do what we're called to do. And everybody has their own normal. And some people's normal is only working in one city and having a 9 to 5 schedule and being available outside of that. And that's what their life is, right? But our life has been this, and we accepted it. We accepted this as our normal, and because of it, there are additional benefits that comes with this normal. And yes, it is. I agree with you. Balance is a myth. I look at balancing like, you know, balancing a car, right? So if you bring your vehicle into a shop and you need a wheel balance, guess what they do? They put more weight on the wheel that needs to have more weight, right? So in different seasons in life, you gotta do more. You gotta put more weight into different parts, and that's how you have an overall balance, and that is the harmony. And I believe in that, and that's how we've been practicing. And I know you do too. When my kids were younger, we intentionally did one-on-one trips with 3 of our kids, and we're so for 3 days, or a couple of days where it's 100% focused on that personal time, them
Right.
choosing the destination, what to do, and really pouring into them. Those memories and those moments are precious, and those are, priceless. So I think, having that harmony, and just one last thing I'll say about that, because to me, this is such an important topic. And I know many people do have challenges and harder time, making this work, is it's the teaching from Jim Rohn. Say, wherever you go, be 100% there.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the greatest way to make sure that you have a good harmony, and performing your best, in everywhere. So like if you're at work, many people are at work worried about, their finances at home, right? Many people are at church thinking about what to eat after, right? Many people will be with their family, but worried about their, problems at work. And if we could really all work on mastering wherever you go, just be 100% there and really 100% delivering your best version at that moment. If it doesn't matter if it's with family or church or, work or with friends or whatever it may be, you will be successful. You could be successful and in all areas of your life and have that beautiful harmony that you're talking about.
Yeah. Worry about later, right? Today's got enough trouble of its own. The moment has enough. And just to ping off something you said, Danny, just to challenge everybody listening, going back to the personal development that Danny's so committed to, it's a big part of my life too. You take you everywhere you go also. So if you're going to show up as the best version of yourself at home or at work or at church or whatever that setting is, like, what are you doing to bring the best version of yourself everywhere you go, right? That's why personal development is so huge. One of the principles I love, Danny, is the idea of protecting your confidence. The number one thing every entrepreneur has is their own confidence. So if we don't have our own confidence, then how are we going to give it away to others, right? That's the number one thing we're selling to our families, to our communities, to business. Such good stuff, man. Well, as we round third and bring this home, there's something I've been so excited to bring up to ask you. When we had lunch a while back, Danny, you said something, man, that was so encouraging and inspiring to me. And you just kind of alluded to it when you talked about every family has their own normal. And to some of us have been entrusted with different gifting and different opportunities than others, and that is what it is. But I asked you something, and I hope you don't mind me saying this because I know you're a humble guy, but you've done extremely well in your life. You don't have to work. That's my strong assumption. And I asked you at lunch, I said, Danny, like, what keeps you going? Like, why is the foot still on the gas? And you said two things to me, and I want you to elaborate on these. The first thing you said is you said, Matt, as long as my kids are in the house, they're not going to see dad sitting on the couch. So I want you to elaborate on that. And then the second thing you said, which was just so inspiring, man, is you said, yeah, but at the end of the day, I've been entrusted with 5 talents. And we know the parable of talents from Matthew in the Bible. The one with 5 turned into 10. Like, we are called to steward the gifting and opportunities God's put in front of us. And it was really, honestly, a little bit convicting for me when you shared that, because, maybe after doing this for enough years, you kind of get on cruise control, right? But you're so opposite of that. So just give a little bit more expansion on those statements for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially for many of us, in the professional world, that if we've been able to have certain level of success and comfort, It is easy, of course, wanting to spend more time with family and spend more time with kids, but they don't. I believe the greatest lesson outside of them knowing the Lord, a life lesson that we have to teach our kids, it's how to do life, and the discipline and the hard work, and how the life formula works, and providing that life lesson. I don't think it's possible to do with words. It's something that we have to show, and they're gonna remember what we show and what we do, and not just me talking about, hey, back in the days when I was your age, or back in the days when I was just starting, that's what I had to do. Well, they could hear it, but they're not going to get it. So I want to be a great example of showing them life lessons, and that it takes work, and there are good days, and there are challenging days, and there are problems that we have to overcome. So sometimes I share, milestones of achievements, but I also share some of the challenges and different things that happens, because I want them to see how I don't run away from it. I don't give up from it, but I fight the fight and stay the course. And sometimes it takes time, but we go through the process until the job gets done, and I want to be, I believe, as a parent, as a father, that's something that I have to provide, and I want to provide, for our kids. So that is one reason. You're absolutely right. And to add on that, I will tell you, I had an incredible 16 years with, one company that I was very blessed to be part of. We had a separation, which was a bit, unexpected, and it seemed like a, tragedy at the moment, right? And because it was never even thought about. And through COVID years, of actually starting my new business, and starting, kind of restarting after 16 years of doing one thing, we did go through a lot of challenges, and we went through a lot of challenges of ups and downs in 2-3 years, of the many battles that were unexpected, I have faced. And now looking back at it, as tough as that was, I'm so grateful for that. And my kids got to also experience it, which now I'm so grateful for. When they were going through it, I felt bad every moment of it, right? But in their teenage years, they got to see me having incredible success ever since they were babies, to having some setbacks and some challenges, and going through a transition of restarting. And the fact that I got to show them rebuilding and achieving things even bigger than anything we have done in the past, I think it has installed hopefully it has installed good life messages into them, to let them know that, it's okay to go through hard times.
Yeah.
But you can make it back if you stay the course, and if you keep the faith, and continue to put God first, and put one foot in front of the other, and never give up, and you continue to work hard, and you pay the price. You could overcome anything. And I, those are the life lessons that we want to provide. And second thing that you have mentioned, yeah, you're right. When I was, I grew up in a Christian family, and one of the cassette tapes that my parents got me when I was in kindergarten, one of the best, first Bible stories that I've learned was the parable of talents, and it was a kid's version of understanding. But we used to play that at the house all the time, and of course Jim Rohn talks about it, in his version of telling that story. So it's been engraved in me since I was a kid, that whatever talent God has given to me, it's my job to multiply. And the other side is the scripture. It's like he wasn't called lazy only. No, he said, you wicked servant, you lazy wicked servant. And it was taken away. And I believe that while I'm here, it is my job, for any opportunity, any talent, any gifts that he has allowed me to have, it is my job to continue to work at it, and be disciplined, and be diligent, and grow it, to impact others and help other people to do the same. So I live with that philosophy, and I'm grateful to have that philosophy.
So inspiring, Danny. And, so oftentimes when I have a guest, drop a bomb, I like to add something to it. I'm not adding to that. That was just so well articulated, and couldn't agree with you more, man. And just thank you for the inspiration you've been to me, even this many years later. Just as often as we do reconnect, there's always something that I get from you. I'm just like, man, you're just the real deal, bro. So thank you for living the life you live. And one thing I do want to just add perspective to for our listeners, though, if you heard Danny talking, what I'm hearing him say is so many of us as parents, guys, we treat our careers separate from our kids. Like we compartmentalize or fragment our life for our marriage or our kids or our business. But I think what you might have heard Danny say, give your career a chance to give your kids a bigger story and a bigger life. Bring them in. Let them see the good times and the bad times and the struggles and the wins and the weathering the storms, because man, they are arrows in our quiver that we're shooting out. And those are some of the greatest lessons we can show our kids is what's it look like to be raw and real, right? So thanks for sharing that, Danny. So, hey, to wrap us up, do me a favor, Danny. You know, the whole purpose of One Life, of this podcast of community, is just helping entrepreneurs realize, man, you can have the thriving business and the life of significance and be the present husband and father or mom and spouse or whatever that is in our listeners' context. But for the person listening right now, Danny, they're just struggling. They're just, man, they're just trying to figure out, how do you do it? It's like spinning plates. How do I do all this? What would be a word of encouragement you'd leave them with, figuring out this idea behind Harmony?
Would say, especially this year, 2026, I think there are going to be many great opportunities that's going to open up in many different industries and many different spaces, especially in real estate and, you know, things that are related to real estate too. I would say be intentional about a couple of things, but number one is be intentional about be intentionally prepared. You know, you talked about having more confidence. How do you get more confidence in soccer or sport you play or instrument you play? Or if you're sharing a message and you're speaking, you know, how do you get more confident? Well, better you prepare, more confident you're going to be. You know, I think part of having great life, you know, one life, you know, with being successful as a father, husband, you know, mother and mother and wife, or being successful in business, you know, being successful in ministry and having all of those in harmony. It's more you could intentionally prepare, you know, schedule the time, and schedule the things that you want to do, activities you want to do, things you want to work on, you know, skills you want to develop. Be intentional in things that you want to prepare. You know, this year, now that we're already a few days in, you know, I've prepared all the things that we want to achieve. Now we're going to be flexible. You know, God could change direction, you know, and open up different doors, and, you know, things can happen. So we always are flexible, but you got to start with the plan. You know, you got to have a clear navigation destination set first. You got to know that you're driving straight, you're making right turn, your left turn, your first, even if there's a detour. You can't say, hey, since there's going to be a detour, I'm just going to start without any direction and just drive around hoping that I'll find a destination and I'm just going to follow my feeling. Better you could prepare intentionally to have a clear roadmap and be flexible when things happen, to pivot, to make sure that you're still on the right path, you know, to go to the destination. I would say that's going to be the most important one, you know, is to be intentional with preparation. And second thing is be intentional about creating your story and creating the results. What's the end result that you want to create in building better relationship with your family, or maybe certain levels of success that you want to achieve, you know, this year? Be intentional, because when you could have clear goals, and if you could have clear picture of what you want to accomplish, and it gives you, and you're not just thinking about it one time, but you're constantly thinking about it because you intentionally wrote it down and exactly what you want to accomplish between the relationship with your kids, with your spouse, or maybe with your business or whatever it may be. And you're constantly thinking about it because you intentionally created the story that you want to create, and you have committed to making that a reality. So you're constantly thinking about it. And here's something about constantly thinking about it, almost to a point where you get obsessed about it, and it's just rings in your mind all the time, and it's 24/7. It's, you know, it becomes your dominant thought. When it does, well, then your subconscious will go to work for you. Your subconscious will help you because you're thinking about it all the time. You may not have a good idea today, but I believe, God will speak to you a week from now, maybe a month from now, because it is so important to you. And you have made up your mind that that's the result that you want to create. So I would say be intentional, be more intentional in preparing, and be more intentional about creating the end result, creating the story of what you want to see happen, and just stay the course. And I believe that that's going to help everybody to have better harmony and be successful in all areas of their lives.
And I think so too, Danny. Couldn't agree more. And it's not the either or life, guys. It's the both and life. Eliminate or from your vocabulary. Like, be obsessed with having an incredible, life-giving, helping other people business, but also be obsessed with loving your spouse and being there for your kids and being intentional. Like, we can be obsessed with all those things. They're all good things, right?
Absolutely.
But it's both and, not either or.
Absolutely.
So, love it, Danny. Well, hey, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about your company or how they could do business with you or connect with you, what's the best way to people to connect with you?
Best way will be on Instagram. It's Instagram, Danny Bae, DANNYBAE official, and that's my Instagram.
Awesome. We'll share that in the show notes, and we'll have some links about the company Danny's with, and definitely stuff that you can learn more about him and get in touch with him. So, Danny, man, I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you for spending time with me. Just grateful for your friendship, your leadership, and the impact you've had on so many people's lives, bro. Not just here in Vegas, but literally all over the world, man. It's pretty cool. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Love what you're doing with One Life Podcast. Continue to impact, and thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. Well, hey, listener, share this episode, tag somebody if you share it on social. But I promise you're already thinking of somebody that this could encourage or inspire that needs to hear this. So don't keep Danny to yourself. Share him with a friend. We want to get the word out, encourage more people. And thank you again for being part of our One Life community. I hope this episode encouraged you today. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, and rating the podcast. It truly means the world to me. And be sure to visit the onelifepodcast.com to join our community. That's where you'll find updates on virtual meetups, special events, and more. And remember, God created you on purpose for a purpose. You don't have to choose between a life of significance and a thriving business. You were made for both. This is One Life.